This is absolutely propaganda. Such propaganda is easy to recognize. Its authors do not write their goals. This is the so-called white propaganda. When it turns out to be ineffective, hidden gray propaganda is used. It can be found in articles, films, news, posts on social networks, on geographical maps, even in computer games. Any media format can become a propaganda channel, but the methods will always be the same. Facts are used to convince people of their position, but what if the facts speak against it? Then propaganda is used. It affects the emotion of collective opinion with the help of manipulations of facts and significant symbols. The purpose of propaganda is to ensure the unification of the masses around a single goal. It is this opinion that the propaganda theory of the American scientist Lasswell asserts. Lasswell argued that an economic crisis or a growing political conflict causes general psychosis, and because of this, people become vulnerable even to crude forms of propaganda. When the average person faces serious threats on a daily basis, he turns to propaganda as a source of reassurance and a way to cope with the threat. Propaganda, according to Lasswell, is primarily the dissemination of political myths and stereotypes. How did the government of Kazakhstan use propaganda during the 2022 elections? Throughout propaganda, the political management of society is conducted, the language of power is implemented. So, in social networks, mainly in TikTok, video clips with the hashtag #TokaevCrush have become very popular among young people. Before the elections, a lot of events were held where students from different universities of Almaty participated. Flags, vests, caps and the posters with the inscription Жаңа Kazakhstan were distributed to them, and students shouted under the slogan #TokaevCrush. Despite the fact that the event was free and that they were held in huge stadiums accommodating more than 5,000 people, by whom and why was all this funded? Have the organizers been prosecuted for the students' complaint? The question remains open. Let's return to the topic of elections, and in this situation the students were not left without attention again. As an example of the presidential election campaign, messages to students about mandatory participation in the elections and the voting for President Tokayev have spread on the web. In addition to all this, they were asked to record their ballot on camera as a sign of proof. This ignores the election law, which states the importance of maintaining anonymity during elections. Let's go back to Lasswell. So what does the author himself recommend in order to avoid universal propaganda of wrong votes? Lasswell developed the following recommendation. The scientific technocracy shall take over the management of propaganda in the media. It will carry out the selection of information and thereby counter the danger threatening democracy. However, there were many who disagreed about Lasswell's recommendation. One of them is Dewey. He agreed that the public is poorly versed in the real state of affairs, but denied the idea that technocracy should influence the information disseminated and control the agenda. Instead, he believed that the media should teach a person to think critically. Thus, we learned that propaganda can radically distort the picture of the world, but this doesn't mean that there is no protection from it. Today, propaganda cannot have total power over people. We live in an open world and all kinds of information are available to everyone. Remember, when we are open, the information bubble becomes soapy bubble.